The world is still before dawn breaks over Fraser's Ridge. Frost clings to the grass, and a single candle burns in the window of the main house. Inside, Claire sits at the edge of the bed watching Jamie sleep. His breathing is shallow but steady, a clean bandage wrapped around his side. Her medical journal lies open in her lap, but she has not written a single word. She is simply watching him, memorizing the lines of his face in the low light, the way his chest rises and falls, the way his hands rest open and unguarded the way they only ever do when he sleeps. She reaches out and places her hand gently over his, careful not to wake him. In her mind, she is not thinking about medicine or war or the days ahead.
She is only thinking about this.
About how close she came to losing it. When Jamie finally stirs and finds her watching him, there is no surprise in his face. Only relief, quiet and deep, as though waking to find her beside him is the one certainty he carried with him even through the dark. He asks if she has slept at all, and she tells him she has been busy, and when he asks doing what, she says simply that she was making sure he was still breathing. He takes her hand and holds it, and for a long moment neither of them says anything more. There is nothing that needs to be said. The morning holds them gently, and they let it. As the ridge wakes around them, life moves with careful purpose. Smoke rises from chimneys, children carry water from the well, and the settlers go about their work with the quiet discipline of people who understand that danger is close, but have chosen not to be destroyed by the knowing of it. Roger walks the outer fence line with two of the men, checking for weaknesses, speaking calmly and with authority. Something has shifted in the way the community looks at him. He is no longer the outsider from another time. He is one of them now, perhaps more fully than he has ever been. Inside the house, Brianna prepares breakfast while Jamie sits too quietly at the table. When she asks what is in his head, he looks up and asks her plainly whether his grandfather is going to die. Brianna sets down what she is holding and comes to sit beside her son. She tells him that his grandfather is too stubborn to die. Jamie says that is what she told him last time. Brianna has no answer for that. She pulls him close instead and holds him there in the morning quiet. The most important conversation of the episode happens mid-morning in the room where Jamie is still recovering. Claire changes his bandage with practiced hands, her focus sharp and clinical, and Jamie watches her face as she works, the small crease between her brows, the way she holds her breath when she peels back the dressing. He asks her to tell him the truth. She tells him the wound is clean and healing slowly. He tells her that is not what he is asking. Claire sets down the bandage and faces him fully. She tells him that when she heard the hoofbeats of the horse carrying him home, she had been certain they were bringing her his body, and that in that moment she had already begun to build the version of herself that could survive it. She had already started becoming the woman who could go on without him. And then he was alive, and she was so grateful she could not even cry properly. She pauses. She tells him that the version of herself she had been building frightened her, not because it was weak, but because it was capable. Because she does not want to be capable of living without him. Jamie reaches up and cups her face in his hand. He tells her that the strength she carries, the kind that could survive the very worst, is not something to fear. It is the truest thing about her. He tells her he is never worried about her. Not truly, though he has nearly gone mad with it every day, because there is a difference between worry and doubt, and he has never once doubted her. Claire stares at him with tears filling her eyes and tells him she does not want to endure. She wants him. Jamie pulls her carefully toward him, and she rests her head against his chest, and he holds her there, whispering that she shall have him for as long as God and time allow it. The afternoon brings a different kind of weight. A rider arrives with a sealed letter and Roger intercepts it before it can reach Jamie. He reads it and folds it carefully, his expression controlled but his jaw tight. He finds Brianna outside and tells her quietly that it is a formal request from the Continental Command, asking Jamie to return to active service within the fortnight. Brianna's response is immediate. She reminds Roger that her father nearly died 2 weeks ago. Roger tells her that the letter does not mention that. Brianna looks toward the trillion for a long moment and then asks if Claire knows. Roger tells her not yet. Brianna asks him not to tell her that day, to let her have one more ordinary day. Roger looks at his wife and understands completely. He nods. As the afternoon light begins to soften, Jamie makes his way outside for the first time since coming home. He moves slowly, leaning slightly, but he stands at the edge of the porch and looks out over the land he built, and something in his face is peaceful despite everything. Claire stands beside him with a shawl around her shoulders.
They do not speak for a while. They do not need to.
Eventually, Jamie asks if she remembers the day they first came to the ridge, when it was nothing but trees and mud and an old man's dream. Claire reminds him that he fell in the creek within the first 10 minutes. Jamie insists the bank gave way. Claire agrees that the bank gave way, smiling as she says it. Jamie grows quieter then. He tells her he had stood up from that creek and looked at the land and believed he was building something that would last. He had been thinking of crops and timber at the time. He had not been smart enough yet to know what would truly last. He looks at her. He tells her it was never the land. It was always her. Claire takes his arm and leans into him gently. She tells him Fraser's ridge was his dream. He shakes his head and tells her no, that she was his dream and the ridge was just the address. Claire closes her eyes and lets the last of the afternoon sun fall across her face. That evening the family gathers around the table, and the simplicity of it feels like something sacred. Jamie says grace, but before the familiar words come he is quiet for a long moment, choosing carefully. He prays not for victory or protection or even survival. He prays to remember. He asks God to let him carry the image of these faces and this table and this candlelight into whatever is coming.